What's the greatest satire of capitalism? For some it's A Tale of Two Cities, for others it's Catch-22, and for a minority it's that Frankie Goes to Hollywood video where Ronald Reagan is wrestling the leader of the Soviet Union. Up until this year, I probably would have said the last one. It's the way Reagan gets Konstantin Chernenko into a chokeslam that is it for me. But recently I've discovered a new show that has made me reconsider my perception of the hyper-combative world that we live in. It's not a satire, or a documentary. It's the brilliant, competitive baking show Nailed It, and it is both the funniest thing on television and the most devastating, absurdist criticism of capitalism in modern times. I'm aware I sound like I'm a few fangs short of a shark cake here. From the outside, Nailed It is just another in a long line of upsettingly stressful cooking shows, where members of the public have a nervous breakdown on TV because they used slightly too many eggs in a crème pâtissière. Even before The Great British Bake Off was added to Netflix, there was a surfeit of these shows on the service. In all of them, and, in fact, in any competitive reality show, whether the competitive element is sewing, being a drag queen, building a toilet or manually stimulating a pig, the key ingredient is tension. The stakes have to be real, and they have to be high. Without tension, the GBBO is just a set of people putting stuff in ovens, and one time putting stuff in a bin. In some ways, competitive reality TV is a microcosm for the competitive nature of society. Every contestant is pitted against each other, fighting to be recognized as the best baker, butcher, candlestick maker. Love Productions is probably already filming The Great British Candlestick Carving, hosted by Joe Wiley, and the panic and stress they go through is what makes it compelling viewing. That and the slight chance that at some point Gordon Ramsay will scream so hard, he'll turn inside out. And yet Nailed It breaks all the rules of competitive reality TV. Each episode, 3 wonderfully incompetent bakers, the kind who would put laundry detergent in a cake instead of baking soda, are made to take on distressingly complicated cakes, like a 3-tiered wedding cake, or a princess tower complete with princess and dragon, with very few instructions and an unrealistically short amount of time. Unlike all other competitive reality shows, where failure is not an option, here it is the only option. The wedding cake will obviously collapse, the princess in the tower will look like a melting goblin, the bust of Donald Trump will look like Gollum with a coke habit. The entire show, in fact, is beautiful anarchy. It is to Bake Off what Mario Kart is to Formula 1, but unlike all other competitive reality shows, no one cares. There's no Paul Hollywood savaging of soggy bottoms, no Gordon Ramsay hell shriek at a slightly overdone pastry. There's just Nicole Byer, arguably the funniest host on TV right now, and definitely the best at saying, "Oh God, do not eat that," with her eyes, and the expert judges, who are forced to sit there, not saying anything as these amateur bakers mangle their recipes into doughy monstrosities. There's something quite liberating about this, unlike other shows, where the aim is always to find the very best, and the stress, screaming and emotional trauma is just collateral damage. Nailed It revels in disaster, accepting the bakers for what they are, good people, trying their best, but with their cakes ultimately ruined by the unrealistic expectations of reality TV, and melting fondant. The entire show, in fact, is beautiful anarchy. It is to Bake Off what Mario Kart is to Formula 1. There are weapons bakers can use against their fellow competitors, one of which is the Nicole Nags button, where Byer will run over to the other bakers and start distracting them by singing loudly in their ear, while another weapon means that all the advice bakers get from head judge Jacques Tourès is delivered to them in French. It's a show that seems to be falling apart at the seams. In the first episode, one of the judges gets bored and starts looking for alcohol in the pantry, while in the last episode, another judge genuinely gets a phone call midway through and has to leave to pick up his children. Are these moments real? Are they staged? Does it matter? Does any of this matter? Why are professional chefs judging a plate of soggy fluorescent goo that's supposed to be a cocktail cake? Like all great surrealist satire, it makes us look at our own lives, the pressure we put on ourselves, the terrifying competition we agree to be a part of professionally, socially and romantically, and question exactly why we put up with it all. Under it all, this is the central argument of Nailed It. There's a kinder world out there, one that isn't only driven by results, that doesn't pit people against each other in a brutal dog-eat-dog world, that doesn't perceive misery as a necessary sacrifice for success. If only we can find a way to stop measuring our self-worth through competition. It's just that sometimes it takes a melting fondant cake in the shape of a giant piece of sushi for us to see that. Bernhardt is a comedy writer and performer.